Happy Monday, everybody. Time to make another video talking to myself and the small amount of, viewers and people, mostly people behind VPNs watching my stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Mudahar, Sungrad, Kakash, Hassan, Denoms, who else? Ikux, Malakari. Holy shit. Man, I gotta stop doing this. Like, I'm just gonna, like, spend 30, 40 seconds just shouting people out every single intro. It's just gonna get out of hand. So, big ups to, more Pegasus, though. It's making Hassan go crazy. Like, more crazy than he already is. But, like, he said, like, the funniest shit that, like, speaking about himself, he's like, I'm quiet, and sometimes once in a while I speak out and speak my mind. I'm like, dude, you never shut the fuck up. You never say anything like, constructive or like moral. You're always for your like pedophile terrorist side. Yo, you gotta watch that thing on DJ Falad. People know about your peoples and stuff, and you're gonna try to fade it and say that like, no, that's not us. That's somebody else. That's you Westerners, and it's just like, yo, man. Then when they're like, in the middle of like having their butt sex, they like, oh shit, red alert. The Americans are attacking, and then they stop having butt sex and they go attack. They go and they fight, and they lost miserably. Like you have to bring in like other soldiers. They're talking about some like Chechen sniper and shit who's like brought in. Yeah, go bring in like the whole Islamic like peoples to come and help you because you guys all fall together. And going back to like what I said about how the UN and pretty much every other country that criticized Trump, Israel, like basically anybody that's the only military force in Iran right now actually helping the people, like they're sending out their destroyers, their aircraft carriers, etc., right? Like they're the only ones that are doing it. So like it comes to a point in time where not only should you not listen to these types of people, but actually question yourself. Like don't get too angry about it because it's like, yeah, we were all fooled. But like, really ask yourself, how much have they influenced my life up until this point? Like it appears that they have a strong desire to influence the future of this world. You have like people forcefully letting like the ICE, agents know that like, yo, you gotta let everybody in the country. You can't kick anybody out. And this is one of the most psyops, you know, propagandist type of movements we've ever seen. So it's like you're gonna go all out crazy for like people who aren't even American citizens and shit. And like a lot of times, these people who are getting deported, like the first wave of deportees were the criminals. And like I'm beginning to see why like these leftists, these Democrats are like going all out crazy to, keep them in the country and shit. And it's most likely not only is it dirty money, but also this idea I've been like pondering about this entire time, like as these events unfolding. In fact, I had this like in my mind for quite some time. It's just I couldn't really phrase it because it's just I wouldn't say unspeakable. It's just like one of those things where you're dehumanizing an entire race, the entire world, the human race, the entire world of people in it. But I think we have to address it. So a lot of people they say that their parents worked really hard and they came to this country and they wanted a better life for themselves. And you hear this sentiment almost echoed to a fault, like it's ad nauseum. And I want to elaborate on like what that means basically. Like it's like a mantra, like repeated constantly to get everybody to repeat it basically. So like whenever they're asked, like person from this country, person from that country, this person like wherever, apparently all around the world, you're seeking a better life. That's what it is. Like the whole world apparently is like an inferno, like a literal hell on earth. There's no laws, there's no nothing, and there are places like that. There are places like that, but like I said before, it's not necessarily like the country itself's fault. It's the people living in it who vote in the elections who don't want to fight for their nation, who don't want to fight in these wars. Like there's a huge discrepancy between the Jewish people, some of the Ukrainians and Russians, and the Persians, and that is I'm willing to bet that I would put as high as a number as 80 to 85% of the Persians living in under the regime, right? So they're not part of the regime, are more than likely to like fight and throw down for their peoples and stuff. So that's internationally, like they're gonna go through, and of course, like unlike Israel, which had like people coming through the airports, people like Greta Thunberg coming through on a boat. You get seen by the Winter Lantern, get the frenzy on you. You don't even know what the heck's going on. I haven't played this game in so long. I got friends. Oh, there you go. See, how dare you? You can't kick me out of Israel. I gotta join up with my posse so we can like look at the torture victims. They keep them chained up in the basement. Well, real talk though, right? Like, so Israel has this like criticism of like you're genociding all these people, you're killing off all these people, and this and that. And then when it comes to the actual like mass murders, we have them on video. We have them like eyewitness report. It's like nobody's doing anything. I saw this video of like obviously it was heavily censored and this and that, but it's like this young person shooting a camera again on the guards, and they're driving motorcycles. I think like two on a bike or one on a bike, whatever, right? And they just walk up to these like I guess prisoners, protesters who are just like tied up or whatever, just like sitting on the ground, and just walks right up to them, says like a bunch of shit, like it's far away, right? You can't hear anything, and then starts hacking their face with a machete. Yeah, 2026, brand new start of the year, and like a lot of people have like they have a weak stomach for this war. They don't think that it's a necessary war to fight, and if they, leave it alone, it's just gonna resolve itself magically. Like you're magically gonna get like millions of people who are against their government to overthrow their government with like a complete lack of like monetary funds, just firepower, military training. They're just civilians. They're just kids. They're just students. A lot of times families and stuff. It's all, and like everybody says, Western influence, Western influence. No, it's all to do with the fact that the country's run by idiots. Like sooner or later, we have to acknowledge that if stupid people run a country, right, the inevitability is they're going to run it into a deficit. And one of the reasons why I made this video is because we got to talk about the big Islamic elephant in the room. Yeah, I'm talking about the Iranian, what was it called? IRGC? Let's just call them, neckbeard. The neckbeard Iran crew. Iran crew, they ran away. So, the elites, the higher ups, right? They have kids, obviously. And you want to know where their kids are right now? Yeah, man. They're balling out, living it up in Dubai. Come to Dubai. What the fuck, dude? And like that kind of contrast between like people who are fighting for their future, fighting for like the money or little bits of money that they have in the bank, right? Versus some like, douchebag riding on a yacht. How do they get that money? And what's the major export of Iran again? I mean, we know about Persian rugs and shit, and maybe you could argue, well, they export like a lot of natural gas, fuel, this, that, whatever, right? No, it's nothing, dude. There's no major export in Iran that justifies having these kids living such a lavish lifestyle. So where does the money come from? It came past tense. It came from the Iranian people. The Iranian people facilitated the lifestyle and enjoyment, much like Hassan lives in this like high level of enjoyment. Like, oh look at me, I'm a prestigious, rich, hairy Arab and stuff. Meanwhile, like the vast, like dude, it's not even a percentage point. If we're talking in the billions, it's not even the percentage point. you don't even have the slightest amount of association with your fellow Muslims. But it's more than okay for you and your fucking douchebag followers to ask you and expect that, like, people are gonna, like, carry out your fucking totalitarian regime so that you can continue to live the lavish lifestyle, you fucking scumbags, man. And people are gonna be like, why would you equate Hassan to, like, the children of these Iranian neckbeard guards, whatever, the Iranian Ayatollah, Ayatollah. Fucking, how do you say his name? Fucking dead man walking. And they're like, literally, I saw the pictures too. It's just like, what the fuck is this? And they're ugly. It's like, you have all this money. The least you could do is, like, work out and, like, whatever. Oh, man. But, like, again, going back to the whole, um, and I think, like, I'm not trying to say, like, there's no actual refugees or there's no reason for people to immigrate whatsoever. But I found that this idea of that desperation to come to America, to come to Europe, right? Like by extension, Australia, I guess, whatever, right? Like, people could argue, well, I like to live in this other country, that other country, right? But I think it's those main three. You got North America, you got Europe, and then you got Australia by extension. Like, it's basically a more tropical version of North America, if you will. But, like, it has its own restrictions. It's more Eurocentric, if you ask me. But, like, if you keep having this, right, over and over and over again, like, brain drain to the max, right? Like, what's gonna happen to the rest of the world? It's gonna become one gigantic theme park, like Jurassic World. So I Show Speed had this visit to Algeria for some soccer match, whatever, and it was fucking eye opening for that black man because he's starting to realize that, you know he's young, right, and he probably, comes to expect, like, some places around the world are going to be a little racist, but, like you could argue that his visit to China was a little bit polarizing because, like, yeah, there was, like, a couple individuals out of, like, the billion who said, like, the N word, or, like, were mean to him, right? Out of the billions of them, the billion, sorry, right? Because China's a huge ass place, it got tons of ass people. Now, it could come to light that maybe they recorded some more, like, racial encounters, insults being thrown his way, but his visit to Algeria had this air of, like, complete batshit weirdness. Okay, so it started off with him going to the soccer stadium, right? So as he's going to the soccer stadium, as he's driving, he does this thing where he sticks out. He's, like, filming himself. He's showing off, like, the place that he's in. Look at me, I'm in Algeria. And then, like, as he's driving by, I don't know, like, this street or whatever, like, I think a car or, like, some individual at, like, a bar or something. Not a bar. What am I saying? A pedo video shop. Oh, the guy just yells straight up the hard R N word at him. You fucking N word. And then he just, like, makes this face where it's like, huh? Yeah. And, like, the reason why I bring that up is because, again, like, the whole desperation of wanting to come to the first world, these first world nations, where you can, like, in their eyes, right? I don't give a fuck, right? Like, I'm dark myself, but, like, in their eyes, they see this dark man with, like, tons and tons of money. China's taking him in. Hassan can't even get the same level of, like, publicity or popularity or any. Nobody likes him there. They don't even care that he's there. It's just like, look at me, I went to China. I converted my, like, large amounts of currency into the Chinese currency, and I'm gonna show it up. Nobody cares. Fucking idiot. Um. So then he gets to the football stadium, right? And they start throwing shit at him. And I'm just like, why would they do this? Like, he has their jersey on. He has the Algerian jersey on, and it's just, like, nonstop. You see the security is, like, just, like, basically huddling him and, like, blocking, like, shit hitting his face and shit. Like, and then I realized, like, if these people had the same like situation, like how it was going down in Afghanistan, you had like some cokehead, meth head president, sons of meth head. He's probably a cokehead for real. Um, saying, okay, look, we're gonna like evacuate all these people in Afghanistan. I mean Algeria, right? The same way we did in Afghanistan. Like, yo, you're gonna have the exact same situation, exactly the same. You're gonna have the plane is gonna look like those leaf cutter ants when they form those like gigantic colonies, and it's just like all these bodies just like forming this like snake, this 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 blob, this ooze of people just like coming into planes and this and that. And then eventually, if this is allowed to happen, like all these fucking retards who are like, yo, ice sucks, get rid of ice, this and that, if you allow this to continuously happen, what do you think is going to happen to the rest of the world? Like, no one's going to care if you go into like a country with like a machete or a knife and you just kill everybody. No one's gonna care if you like, do this, do that. Like the only people who are gonna be caring are PMCs and countries, like their militaries. I mean, so like a bunch of mercenaries who are like, okay, come, go, get these VIPs, go get this like resources, gold, money, whatever, and then like you have the militaries who are doing more or less the same thing, and then the world's just going to become pure anarchy. Like basically, children of men, man. People are just like attacking you randomly. You're like driving around, see some guy like jump on your car like that guy on Clavicular, attack like stalking you out, this and that, and they're like the second that they smell that you have a citizenship in these places that you want to go to, they'll kill you for it. They'll kill you and wear your skin for it. We are turning the world into a literal like prehistoric hunting ground, right? Where we can like observe like the anthropological, the evolutionary like thing, how human beings, evolved from like, their primal savage state to what they were now, and then you take away all those resources, and then inevitably like that's all they can fall back on is those primal urges, those ways of like living where you're constantly having to steal, you're constantly having to kill, you're constantly having to siphon the resources of people who not only are more intelligent than you, but are genetically, you know, better than you. And then the regression of the human race starts to become woefully apparent day by day, night by night. Like we're hurtling towards this inevitable, I guess, crisis where they all just want to keep coming in, but are they willing to fix the countries of their origin? Nah, it's somebody else's problem. Because ICE are the real bad guys, and we should just let them in no matter what, even at your own expense. Maybe not though.